Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we're talking about a long distance relationship, and then we spoke to two couples. They're going to answer some questions about long distance relationship for you guys. I think some people specifically asked some questions, so we answered them in this video. Yeah, they did. So
hi everyone, this is Bambi and
Abraham.
and we're the Anahoros, and we're just here to share a little bit of our journey to marriage with you all. So we'll be talking about long distance. The first question we're asked is, how did you cope with the distance? For me, I always refer everything back to God. It was just God. God was our support system. God was the assurance that we had that the distance was not going to be forever, and the God that brought us together would definitely see us to an expected end. So that was how I personally was able to cope with it. How were you able to cope with it?
For me, it was everything. Like, first of all, God, and there was service at church, service at school. I played college soccer at the time. I had a full-time job and full-time service in the ministry. Also, I stayed in touch with my family that's in Nigeria as well as friends. So keep me in check.
Well, I would say that I try to occupy myself. Yeah, I try to occupy myself with things that I like to do. You know, that would be like I'm a loner. I enjoy my own company. So I try to read a lot. I try to watch a lot of movies. You all know that I had a library or box full of films back in the day when, I was away from my husband. So, yeah, I try to do a lot of things that I like to do, occupy myself, not necessarily being, I love to be alone at this time. It's funny, it's weird, right? I love to be alone because I'm a loner, like I said, but I always liked to occupy myself with other things that I like to do. So that way, I wouldn't fall into that trap of missing my loved one or getting into trouble. So I try to occupy myself with things that I like to do. It wasn't easy. It didn't always take away the how would I put it? It didn't always take away the effect of the long distance between us, but at least it helped me to stay sane. So occupying myself with stuff that I like to do was one of the ways that I coped with the distance.
Okay, and the second question that we were asked is how we're able to deal with not being able to see each other when we wanted to. For me personally, okay, what both of us did was we had various means of communication. We did calls, obviously, text, we did Skype, we did Yahoo, we did Facebook, like we did everything.
Blackberry,
BBM, yeah, that was when BBM was still reigning. So those like means of communication definitely like helped when the distance was really overwhelming. It made, especially when you're like on Skype, I forgot to mention Skype, when you're on Skype and then the person seems so close. So to me personally, it just made it seem like Abraham was just like next door, so all those things like kind of helped make it easier. And what about you?
Some dates can be really frustrating, but,
Yes, oh my gosh.
But then it's God, and just, I don't know, you just have a system that works, especially because we had time difference.
Oh yeah, time difference was a major thing. Yeah,
but it was tough, but yeah,
we made it.
I don't know, to be honest with you, I'm going to give you my own firsthand experiences. When we got married, my husband and I I beg your pardon, My husband and I were separated for about 3 years. So it was, although he visited and I was able to visit, but not as often as we wanted to. So, how did I cope? Well, I would say I cope through, like, I would say that the kind of person that I am, right? I don't let other people, make someone else the center of my universe. That's just me to start with. I don't make people the center of my universe. I don't make my life revolve around someone like that enough to make me crazy enough not when I don't see the person I have a problem. No. I try to how would I, it still boils down to my being a loner, because I'm a loner, because I don't let anyone be the center of my, universe. It was easier for me to cope with not seeing him every time. And then I had pictures, and then I could daydream. I did that a lot, recounting encounters that we've had, or that's the way I coped. Because and then sometimes I blanked my mind as well, because I'm telling you, it can be really, really hard. In our case, we were already married. So it was hard knowing that you couldn't walk away from this relationship because you've already taken a vow to be together forever. So I would say I had to blank my mind some of the time to just say, okay, you're a spinster, you're single, you're a reverend sister, So just blank your mind. And it helped me a lot. When I blank my mind, I say, okay, it's me, myself, and I, you know, it helped me a lot. And then when that wouldn't help, I resorted to the pictures. I resorted to videos that we had made. I use that, and it's just like watching a movie. Maybe me, I like rom-coms, so it's things like that. When you watch those kind of things, it helped me cope with the fact that, oh, my loved one was far away. So, and then having family around, having people that I also loved and appreciated around helped also. Spending time with those people, spending time with doing things that I loved helped me cope with the fact that, okay, my husband wasn't here, my love isn't here. So at least I have these people, and at least I'm thankful for, the affection that I'm getting from these people, So that's the way that I dealt with us not being together whenever we wanted to be together. It wasn't easy. It definitely isn't easy. There isn't anything that would just take away that loneliness, take away that feeling that, okay, I need, there are times when you just need to, there's something you want to share, and you just want to share it with one particular person, and then the person isn't there. There's no one else that will fill that gap. There's no one else that will fill that void. Believe me. So there are times when those things happen, and you can't help but just, that loneliness is there, period. There's nothing you can do about it. So I had some coping mechanisms that helped a little, but sometimes you just have to ride that tide of being lonely and not being with your loved one. You just had to ride that tide until, you were at a point where you could deal with it.
So number 3, how did we solve serious issues like fights, arguments that can't be done over the phone? Okay, we had a serious fight.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so let me tell you what happened, right? We're having a conversation, and I can't remember what she said, because she studied mass communication, and it's easy for her to unleash English words. So she just started attacking me on my way to a soccer game. And I wasn't in the mood because I had to prepare mentally for a game. She just kept going, and I got to the game field. I couldn't respond anymore, so I stopped responding. During the game, I had a concussion. My facial bone right here got broken. It's fixed. You won't notice it. It got broken, and I was in the hospital for 3 days. She didn't call or text or check on me.
I didn't know, honestly. I didn't know he was. I just thought he was ignoring my message. He didn't want to reply.
No. It was the first message I responded to him. I texted you, and you said you did not get my text.
I didn't.
So I did not ignore. I sent her a text that, look, I just saw your messages. I can't reply them now. I'm on my way to the hospital. I may be in surgery because I broke my facial bone during a game, and she didn't get the messages.
Yeah, and I think, like, from everything that he said, see, as Christians, we know that our spiritual warfare is not against flesh and blood, and anything godly, anything that has God in it, is always a threat to the devil. From the get-go, we had established the presence of God and the fact that this relationship heading towards marriage is for God, and so obviously the devil was out to, like, get us. So after, it even resulted in a breakup, and after everything, it just made us realize that, just the fact that I didn't get the message, he sent me a message, I didn't get it, like, that's just the devil, like, just trying to, like, sow seeds of, doubt and suspicion, and just, he doesn't love me anymore, she doesn't love me anymore, I'm in the hospital, she can't call me, and I'm over here thinking, oh, now he's ignoring me, so it's just like we said earlier on, it's just God. Like, once you have God in your relationship, like, God gives you the wisdom to handle things. God tells you when to keep quiet. God tells you when to speak. The Holy Spirit tells you when you've spoken too much and you said things that you should not have said. So it really is just God that helped us out. Right.
Of course. It was the worst breakup. You don't want that kind of breakup. I feel like you broke up in the hospital bed. But yeah, it was sad. Really sad. Well, we give God the praise we're here today.
Yeah.
One thing I've heard someone say that, how do you fight when you're in a long distance relationship? Funny, huh? That's a funny question. That when you don't see each other, why you fight? How do you get to fight? Believe me, you get to fight. Believe me, you get into arguments about one thing or the other. And yes, there are times when it's difficult, there are a lot of times when it's difficult to have some kind of conversation on the phone. Me, I put it in writing, because there are times when, okay, we of course we had arguments, we had a lot of arguments, a lot of fights, and I'll say my bit, and when I drop the phone, I think, okay, there are things that I wanted to say that I wasn't able to say at the time. So I put pen on paper. I write. I email. Like, I used to write him a lot of, my emails were really, really long. Like, I would write and write and write, That way, sometimes it looked as if it was one-sided, but, when somebody's not trying to interject when you're talking, because, okay, when you're on the phone, the other person is trying to interject or trying to put in a word or two. So I prefer to write. I just email, and it will be epistle according to St. Catherine. Believe me, I will write an epistle to him, about this or that, things that I thought maybe I didn't say on the phone while this argument was going on or something. So, that was the only thing available. You either had to say, resolve your issues on the phone or write. I wrote a lot, you just write, and hopefully he gets it. If he doesn't get it, and sometimes he didn't get it. When I will send one email like this, and maybe we've had an argument, and then I'll send out an email about that argument, and then he responds with something entirely, totally out of the scope. I'm like, dude, didn't you just read my email? You know? So, long distance relationship there isn't any rule book to it. Really, there isn't any. Like I said, this relationship, even before we got married, right? Our relationship really was based on our ability to communicate. Our ability to communicate. That was the relationship. Because for me, before we got married, I think we only met once. And the relationship blossomed after that based on our ability to communicate. I put in the effort to communicate with this dude, and this dude put in the effort to communicate with me. And then the next time we were actually seeing each other, we were getting married.
And how did we handle sexual urges? Oh my God. First of all, let me just say we would be lying if there was no temptation, especially when he came home like every summer and the desire was just to, hug and, do all sorts and kiss and all that. But how did we handle it? We had, like he talked about, a system. We had a system that worked. I know for a fact that when he was in that mood, or even when I was in that mood, like one thing that really helped was taking cold showers, like really cold showers, taking like you put ice block in your water, just really cold, to help that heat dissipates, and then when he came to Nigeria, one other thing that helped was we did not stay around each other for long. Like we were always doing things in the sense that like alone in the house. Like we would go out, we would stay where people are, so that way we will not be like by ourselves for long, so.
And it got to a point we had to take downfall instead of driving. That was fun.
Yeah. So oh my gosh.
It's part of the love story. So
yeah.
For me also, long walks in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
I thrived in New York for a good while, and I enjoy winter because it's always quiet on the streets, so I'm able to walk and just think about a lot of things. Try it. Think in the cold, it's good. And I also say this to people, like it looks like it's impossible, but it takes conviction.
Yeah. And I always refer everything back to God.
Yeah.
It takes the grace of God, because the Bible says, by strength no man shall prevail. It wasn't by our power. Like I look back now and I see how God orchestrated everything, and I know that one of the reasons he puts that distance in place was because, were it not for God, we wouldn't be able to tell this love story that we waited until marriage before, we slept with one another. So at the end of the day, it's just God. The grace of God is sufficient to help you do the things that you thought you could never ever do.
Sexting. Yep, did a lot of sexting. Videos, pictures. That was what I had available. I did a lot of sexting because, okay, he's not here. And okay, before we got married, I didn't need to do anything. We weren't having sex. So what you don't know don't hurt you, right? So I was in my own small corner minding my business before marriage. So I didn't have a problem with that. But after we got married, of course, sex was now involved in this relationship. So he's gone, and of course I had sexual urges. So we resorted to sexting, sending videos, dirty talks on the phone. Long distance relationship doesn't give you a lot of options. You don't have a lot. So, but one thing I did not do was use sex toys. I didn't have the need for it. I don't believe in them, to be honest with you. I just don't. I'm weird like that, you know. And I'm traditional too. Traditional in the sense that I want the real thing. I want to be able to. For me, sex is just beyond the body. It's spiritual as well for me, at least for me. So, having to use a dildo without a human being attached to the dildo is it just burns. It just it just kills my vibe. Final question says, is it actually worth doing? Like, is it actually worth having a long distance relationship? Well, it depends on you, what you want. Honestly, it isn't. It's a lot of hard work. It worked for me. It worked for me because I was ready for the hard work. My boo was also ready for the hard work. So it worked for both of us because we were committed and we trusted each other. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot, because most of the time you can vouch for yourself, but you can't really vouch for the other person. So it takes a lot, a lot. My first rodeo, it didn't work. It did not work at all because it was one-sided. I was the one putting in all the effort, and of course the relationship died. It just went south real quick. But this time around, we were both committed. We trusted each other. We wanted it to work. We put in a lot of effort, energy, everything. So it did work. I wouldn't say because it was, personally, I wouldn't want to go that route again. Personally, personally, I would prefer that I didn't have to do it. But I did it and it worked. The only advantage that I would say having a long distance relationship has for me is because we communicated a lot. I got to know my husband more than than if he had been with me physically. I don't know if that makes sense, because I don't think I would have known known him half as much as I do now if we were in the same vicinity, if we were together. Maybe I'll just be knowing it because at least because we've done this relationship has been over a decade, so maybe I would have now, but in a very short span of time, I knew my husband a lot. Within a year before we got married, I knew a lot about him that I would not have known if we were together.
Okay, it's been fun talking to you all. My final words of encouragement is before you start a relationship, so you don't waste your time, find out what God is saying regarding the person that you want to, pursue that relationship with. Like, we had 3 breakups, and how we came back together is just God. Not everybody can do long distance. Not everybody can do short distance, like short distance. So the point is, find out from God what God is saying. God would never lead you astray. God would never, ever, ever lead you astray. Find out what God is saying per time, and you will make the right choice.
I always say this, it's not about the present that determines your life. We're from 2 different backgrounds and we ended up together. And one thing was consistent in both of us, and that is service. Service to God, service to man. My encouragement to people is, if you cannot tolerate your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, you cannot love. How can you love someone you don't know? Yet you can't love the person you know. If you ask my siblings, I love my siblings. as wonderfully crazy as they are, I love them to death. And that prepared me for everything that I had to deal with. Yeah.
I'm the nicest person. I'm the nicest wife ever.
I agree.
Thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye.